Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 14th of November. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. Great to have you back on, Chris. How's it going?
Not too bad, Derek. Not bad. A busy old day yesterday, but any day when Rangers put the numbers out is usually a busy day. So it's this time of the year of their IFC accounts and AGM. So it's always interesting, but it certainly keeps us going.
It certainly does. Chris was up late last night, folks, dissecting the numbers and writing a brilliant piece. It's just will be on the website. It should be up just now, folks. What I've done is I've popped the link in the description below, so do go and check it out. It explains the accounts in great detail. Right, let's talk all things Rangers, because there is plenty of to talk about. Of course, obviously the accounts yesterday, as you mentioned, Chris, Rangers releasing those yearly figures. Let me just get what John Bennett had to say in his annual report. The Ibrox chairman said the club has, for the second year in succession, returned an operating profit. Turnover for the year to 30th of June 2023 was £83.8 million, generating an operating profit of £252,000. While successive years of operating profitability can be seen as encouraging, especially in light of what had gone before, there is still much work to be done. The club vision must be simple and clear: sustainable success. This applies both on and off the pitch, and it must be a mantra by which all at the club live. Football is a business which is particularly prone to being reactive. While this may be inherent to the industry, sustainable success can only come when we are systematic in our processes and in our actions. It's my firm conviction that this is a precursor to returning the club to the status of serial winners. I have talked previously of the four components of financial sustainability: season ticket sales, commercial revenue, European football, and player trading. While the first of these components will never be taken for granted, it is the fourth that requires attention. Player trading will always be inherently volatile, yet Rangers must replace sporadic wins with systematic success. It is a given that it all begins with player recruitment. This is an area of priority for your board, and we anticipate that the coming months will see a strengthening in the leadership and processes of our football department, specifically with this in mind. So there you go, folks. The figures report another profit for Rangers for the second successive year. Last year, they posted an operating profit of £5.9 million. Chris, you've been up late last night, as I mentioned, counting the numbers and working out what it all means. What does it mean for people that are tuning in this morning?
I think it means that, perhaps unsurprisingly, it highlights again the importance of European competition for Rangers, and as the chairman said there, it highlights the importance of player trading. It should be no surprise that Rangers make money when they sign good players, win with good players, and then sell good players. That's the basis. I know the details in the report about the commercial revenues, for example, they're around about the £28 million mark, which is again another good figure. There's talk of bringing money in through New Edmiston House, and also the retail money is up from 5.5 to 7.2, I think it was. So there's positives there in terms of other money that the club is bringing in, but the big ticket stuff, the thing that makes the most money, that is the most defining to Rangers as a club and as a business, is success on the pitch and selling players. And it's no surprise to see the chairman really highlight that player trading model. It's something that's been spoken about for a long time now. And they've spoken at various stages of it kick-starting, because we had Patterson, then we had Bassey, made a bit of money on Joe Aribo. But as John Bennett said, these are sporadic wins. That's not a sustainable model. And the money that's been invested in the squad has not been repaid. Now that's the theme of the piece I got this morning. Are Rangers getting value for money? Are they getting bang for their buck? And when you look across the city, with similar levels of spend, but they've got 3 trophies in the cabinet, and they made a huge amount of money from the manager going down south. We've got no trophies in the cabinet, and we're on our 3rd manager in just over 12 months. It's hard to say that Rangers, for the money that's been spent, it's hard to say that Rangers are getting value for it. And I've always said it's not necessarily what you spend, it's how you spend it. And that's as pertinent now as it has been in previous years. Every manager has been back to an extent. If you only have 10 million, but you spend it really, really well, and you put a side on the pitch that wins the league, it's £10 million really spent. If you have 10 and you blow it, as perhaps has been done over the summer, and it's a lot more than 10. It's actually neither 20 over the course of the summer. Then that's also not going to bode well for you. So I think these numbers again just highlight how important it is for Rangers to spend every pound that goes out the door. It has to be spent wisely, and that has to be a lesson going forward. Otherwise, the picture on and off the pitch, it's not going to make for pleasant reading over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, it was interesting that John Bennett did mention player trading. It's an area that has to be a concern going forward. Like you say, that the Bassey and Aribo transfers were good, but they cannot be standalone. It has to be, as he mentioned, a frequent, systematic winning, as he called it, John Bennett. Lots of points coming in with regards to it. Matthew Ross, with the point here, just on the accounts in general, considering the crazy losses we've been through in past seasons, I'm just happy it's in the positive. Kev Armstrong, morning Kev, he says, we need to get better at the smaller sales, flipping players for £2 to £5 million profit. Not every sale will be Bassey money. As you said, Chris, £21 million in the summer. That is a sizable chunk of cash. Rangers need to be seen a bit, hopefully now that they've got Philip Clement in charge, we'll start to see some fruits of the money that has been outlaid. But it's all about flipping players at the end of the day, isn't it? And they have to, as John Bennett rightly put it, sell players on for, as Kev said as well. Doesn't have to be mega money, but they have to start making profits on players that they're bringing in.
I think if you look at the players that are actually brought in over the summer, very few of them actually fall into the buy low, sell high model. In terms of profile of them, you're not going to make £2 to £5 million, as Kev said. You're not going to make that on Dessers, even if it had been a success. You're not going to make £5 million on them, given the age profile. You're not going to make that money on Sam Lammers. There's a number of guys in the squad who should be at their peak, who should be part of a winning Rangers side, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make money on them. Jack Butland, we've been, as we've discussed, and people have expressed their fears over Jack Butland. He's now the most prized asset within the squad because they could make a lot of money on him. But apart from that, you're looking at maybe Raskin. I think they make a profit on him. You probably won't lose money on Todd Cantwell, but he'll then go back down south to Championship rather than to the Premier League, I would imagine. So there's not a lot of guys. Certainly, there's no one in there of the Bassey type. Now, and the Bassey situation was unique because it came about after the European run. Players that are just playing well domestically, even if you win and you do really well in Premiership terms, that's not going to get you a £20 million fee. It has to be done on European stage. Now, so last season with the Champions League campaign and how it unfolded, nobody was going to buy any Rangers players off the back of that because nobody impressed. And the problem they've got now, unless you get to the latter stages of European competition, which hopefully they can under Clement this season, unless you're really going deep into European competitions, you're not going to put players in front of the eyes of clubs that are willing to spend that type of money. And as the accounts show, that being knocked out in Europe at the stage we did last season cost Rangers a lot of money because I think there's four fewer games at Ibrox over the course of the campaign. If they had qualified for the Europa League, they would have been higher in terms of revenue. That revenue down 3.1 million. That's because of the European competition. So again, it highlights, in that sense, it highlights how important European competition is. But in terms of the player trading model, European football is also vital because it puts players in front of clubs that are willing to spend that kind of money. And Rangers really need to be in a situation where 2 seasons out of 3, they're making good profits on one or two players, because that then just keeps the whole thing ticking over nicely. It's not happened often enough over the last couple of seasons. As you look at the makeup of the squad now, I just don't see it.
Yeah. So many comments coming in. Donald says, not sustainable level long-term chicken and the egg, need to be successful to maintain players' value. And just on player trading, some interesting points here. Barry Smith with the point, Butland, Raskin, Cantwell, Danilo, all good investment, but the thought of losing any of them is worrying. And Ross Nielsen with the point, Morning Ross, who is realistically of any decent value in a squad? Butland, Raskin, zero value in our back four and very little in our midfield. Butland, Raskin, Cantwell, Danilo, you'll get a bit of money for them, but cash, I'd imagine that they would make money on all four of them. I know a large chunk was spent on Danilo, but if he continues in this vein, then I won't have any concerns about that. Anyone else? So, Chris, I'm thinking Jose Cifuentes, if Philip Clement can get a tune out of him, he's another one that Rangers could look to flip at some point down the line. Ridvan, a chunk of cash was spent on him, but will they get their money back if he decides to leave at some point in the future? It seems crazy we're talking about this, but in terms of players in the future, it's the sustainable model Rangers are looking to move towards. So any more than those four, and you reckon that could fall into that equation?
On Ridvan, I think we'll do well to get our money back on him. I think that's the case for quite a lot of the signings recently. Cifuentes, I know, was one. There's a bit of interest. There's a lot of interest in him before Rangers managed to secure his signature in the summer. He's a player who has a certain profile that the club believe they can make money on. From what we've seen so far, is he a £20 million midfielder? I don't think so. But he should be one if he progresses as we think, and he can get himself in the side and be part of a successful Rangers side, which is the key to all of this. There's potentially money to be made there, but I think it's more of we've got the squad we've got now, we've got the players we've got. Try and make the most of that squad. Yeah. I think the way that John was speaking in his chairman's report, and the focus that was really put on player trading, it's something for Clement as a manager and the new technical directors that we can expect within the next couple of weeks. You almost have to write off the money that's been invested in the squad right now. We need to try and win with that squad, and it's the next evolution of the group that we need to then try and make the money on. As I say, I think two seasons out of three, Rangers have to be selling a player. You don't have to look too far across the city to see the model, to see the benefits of it. And nobody likes seeing good players leave. Nobody wants to see good players head out the door before their time. Ultimately, that's where Rangers are in the world football pecking order, and certainly in the European football order. They need to be selling players for profits to then reinvest. And again, that domestic supremacy highlights just how important Champions League football is, and being able to, one, get the money from it, and then two, dropping down into Europa League and having a sustained run, getting into group stages and then being papped out at the first opportunity is not good. And that's why that win over Sparta Prague last week was so important for Rangers, because they need to get another couple of rounds just to keep the money coming in, because all these aspects, well, the business in general is healthier because of the money that's been invested in things like Edmiston House and the work that the board have done. Still relying on external investment in terms of investor loans. I'm sure they want to address that as well. So that the club is still not fully self-sustainable, and that's another thing that's been mentioned a number of times over the last few years, but it's not quite at that level yet.
Yeah, some way to go. And this another interesting point, not allowing assets to run down their contracts, as World's Greatest DJ says. Allowing Kent and Morelos to leave for nothing was a financial own goal. I'm sure that is something that the board will be looking to guard against going forward. So that's a brief summary of the accounts, folks. As I mentioned, Chris's piece is in the description below. Do go and check it out. There's also on the website, you'll find lots of reaction to those accounts that were released yesterday. We've also got the Q&A from the Rangers chief financial officer as well, James Taylor, and everything he had to say in his interview with Rangers TV. So you can go and read all about that on the Rangers Review website. Other news yesterday, Chris, this director of football appointment now looks like we're in the home straight with regards to that. Rangers set to appoint a new director of football within a fortnight, of course, looking for a replacement for Ross Wilson since he departed for Nottingham Forest back in April. That fans forum where James Bisgrove told fans that the club was in the final stages of appointing a new director of football. This is quite exciting, is it not? I know a number of names have been linked in recent weeks, but it certainly seems like we're moving ever closer to that appointment.
It's one we're edging towards ever more. The director of football, sporting director, technical director, whatever you want to call it. The saga rumbles on ever since Ross Wilson left. In fact, even before Ross Wilson left to go and join Nottingham Forest, April time, I think. Even before that, people had been discussing a new man coming in, a fresh approach in that particular role. I'm really interested to see what level of candidate Rangers are able to attract and who the appointment's going to be. Getting names at present is difficult. Everyone keeping their cards very close to their chest. But we've spoken before about the importance of that role. That's clearly just been reinforced by the numbers in the accounts, clearly reinforced by John Bennett's messaging in the accounts. So the appointment of this new technical director is hugely significant for Rangers. If they get this one wrong, it sets them back a number of years. So this one has to be right. We really need to see advancements in the scouting. The club have can move towards that. Working data driven processes over the last couple of weeks and couple of months. We really need to see improvements in terms of player recruitment, in terms of maximising, as one of the comments mentioned earlier on, Kent and Morelos can't allow that situation to happen again. And that comes down to squad planning, which ultimately was one of the things that Ross Wilson failed at. So I think that there's a lot for the new technical director when he is appointed. There's a lot on his plate. There's a lot to be done there. But hopefully they do get the right man. And really interesting to see what profile they go down. They get someone from the English market that perhaps knows that a bit better. Do you get someone from abroad? Do you have someone who has a connection with the club? I don't think that's actually a prerequisite. I know people always put forward, give it to Graham Souness or Davy Weir, which is just pie in the sky stuff. I know people want someone that does have that affiliation with the club. I don't see that being a big deal. And if it's not someone who has an association with the club, I'd actually be quite happy, because I think coming in with a complete fresh set of eyes on Rangers as a football operation right now, I don't think you necessarily need to know the history of the club to be able to go and sign good players when you've got so much other football experience that you can count on there. So hopefully it's soon, and then also once the new man's in the door, we'll get a chance to go and speak to him and hopefully get his vision for the future, because it's certainly an important one for Rangers.
Yeah, it certainly is. The People's Champ saying this is why a director of football and transfer department is vital, so we make the right signings and don't waste money. And at Hearts Park, there's so many comments coming in. This was an interesting one from Kev Miller. He says, morning all, with £4 million net loss in the period, we sold Bassey and Aribo. That looks like a reality check for January transfer window. Do we need to sell before we buy? I think that's a fair comment, Chris. To Rangers, I imagine Philip Clement will be given funds in January to strengthen that squad. I can see some outgoings, but I don't necessarily think it's dependent on the outgoings for who he's going to go and bring in. But again, it's dependent on the director of football that's going to come in.
I'm sure the manager would have been given some level of assurance about the finance that he would be given. He's not going to take the job just 4 weeks or so ago, and then suddenly get to January and realise that the pot's empty and he's not going to have anything to go and strengthen it. The squad is clearly not fit for his purpose in terms of how he would like to use it. It's not obviously built in his style, built in Michael Beale's style, whatever style that actually was come the end of it. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done on the squad. Buy before you, or having to sell before you buy. Sorry, I don't think it's at that level. But don't. I don't think we should be surprised if there are outgoings, because there's clearly players there who are not contributing. Clearly players there who are not going to fit into the manager's plans long term. He's getting a tune out of most of them. He's certainly got a tune out of the team overall at present. Is this a squad that Clement wants the first day of pre-season come the summer? No, it's not. So I think there will be this evolution of the squad once again. And what are we, 5 months on from talk of rebuild and all the rest of it, and we're staring at another one once again.
Yeah. GDS, just on the director of football, says that obviously the director of football elect is currently serving notice at another club. Maybe he is. Ross Nielsen says, I hope it's a lad from Brighton that was mentioned, not Big Davy Weir, the other one. Sam Jewell, you're thinking of, who's Paul's son, former Wigan manager. So he is one of the names that has been linked. Alex Inglethorpe was another in recent weeks, of course, working at Liverpool. So who it is, we'll hopefully find out in just under 2 weeks' time. Just on the sort of type of profile, James Cameron says we have to operate far better in the Bosman market. That's what's his opinion on it. And Maka with a point towards your good self, Chris, he says, good news on the director of football, but it's all gone quiet on the Souness role. Any update on that, Chris?
It has gone quiet on Souness. I was hoping to speak to someone yesterday about that, but the plans changed, unfortunately. But I will get back on the case and I think an update for you, Maka.
Yeah, absolutely. As mentioned, folks, the Rangers review is where you'll hear that first. Chris will be on the case, as he mentions. Obviously, international break, Chris, at this moment in time. Rangers, of course, you asked Philip Clement prior to the Livingston game what the plans are over the course of the next 2 weeks. I'd imagine they'll be working really hard on that training pitch with the players that aren't away with their international clubs. It could be a vital point for Rangers, this, in terms of getting his ideas across. You mentioned there, touching on, he probably will be looking to strengthen in January, but he has to work with the players at his disposal at this moment in time. He did touch on a number of players that will be back come the end of that 2-week period, namely Scott Wright, Rabbi Matondo he mentioned, John Suter as well. For the life of me, I think there was one other.
Nico Raskin.
Raskin's the other one, that's it. So could be Rangers could come out of this international break with a far healthier squad than what they went in with.
Hopefully the guys that are away, I know there's not that many of them, but hopefully the guys that are away come back fit and healthy. And as the manager has said, like Friday and on Sunday, hopefully they don't forget the story. That's something that he's mentioned about. You go away and you join the international squad and you perhaps forget what you've been working on at club level. He addressed it a wee bit post-match on Sunday. Actually raised the potential of Rangers getting a game over this fortnight just to keep everyone ticking over. But I think any player who thinks they're going to be able to put their feet up for a week or so, it's not going to happen. The manager outlined the 3 days off that they'll get over this period, but they will get a running programme. They'll have individual programmes to work through. And I think this time on the training ground could be really important for him. He's not really had that. And since coming in 4 weeks ago tomorrow, I think it is, as his first month anniversary. That's there's a lot happened in that time. There's a lot of big games playing every 3-4 days. It does take it out of a squad. So I think it's a good time just to kind of recharge and reset and can take a wee step back, but not too much, because they're still obviously as encouraging as it has been so far under Clement. There's still obviously a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of improvement that can be got out of the squad individually and collectively. So I'm sure he'll be really looking forward to using this time. But when I asked him that question on Friday, and he said, look, every day is important. Just because we've now got a fortnight with no games doesn't mean you think this is more important. It's not like a pre-season campaign where he's got a really sustained period to work with a fully fit squad. It's not like that. So it's definitely, I don't think it's a bad thing for Rangers, but he's certainly one that's not reading too much into it, because I don't think his standards won't change too much. Now the way that he's conducted his business over the first 4 weeks, that's certainly how we'll see it over the coming days of this international break.
Yeah, just on potential transfers, Jock with the point here. Good idea, Jock, but I can never see this being enforced. He says, here's a thought, put a always injured clause in contract, i.e. half pay if you can't play. I'm not entirely sure there'll be too many players signing up for that deal, but it's a nice idea, Jock, that's for sure. Just a point on the international break as well. Donald says, who is actually away? McCrory and Jack are away with Scotland, of course. Just trying to think of who else is away. Chris, Barisic is away. Cifuentes isn't away, is he? Is he away with Ecuador?
I don't know if they've actually got a game or not. I know he was actually the one that was injured on the last international break, so yeah. I'm sure the manager will be hoping not, given how that one unfolded. But that's just if you're a club manager, that's the run, or that's the risk that you always run. You're handing over your players to international associations. You put your faith in them that they train properly and they tick all the relevant boxes. But there's always that side of it. You can also pick up injuries playing matches fairly easily. So fingers crossed that everyone comes back okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully they don't forget the pages. I loved that little quote from Philip Clement last week saying that players sometimes come back from international duty and they forget a lot of pages that they've been told with their club side. So World's Greatest DJs rightly puts, this is McCausland with the Northern Ireland under 21 squad. So absolutely wish Ross all the very best. Mark Robb with the point here just on Jack Butland. He says Butland should be called up for the England squad. He has previously been called up before. Chris, it's an interesting one. I think England are well stacked for goalkeepers down south. It's one of those ones. Wouldn't be surprised if he was called up, but at the same time, it's not an area that is a concern for Gareth Southgate at this moment in time.
No, it's a tricky. It's unfortunate for Jack because his form this season has been excellent. He's obviously playing European competition, which raises the bar as well. But it's a very competitive area of England side. Now they're not short of a player or two down the road. But I think the competition in that particular area, obviously you've got Pickford there, Ramsdale there. If Butland was going in and he did get that recall, he's certainly not going in to be number one. You maybe find if there's a couple of injuries somewhere, he can find himself as third choice and getting a call up and getting to go away. But I think the positive thing for Jack is he's still only 30. For a goalkeeper, he is young. He's still got a lot of time and a lot of football to play. So right now, I don't think it's a realistic one just because of that competition ahead of him. In future, who knows? Yeah.
Barry Anderson says he's a better keeper than Pickford. Yeah, I wouldn't have Jordan ahead of Super Jack Butland in goal. I've got to say, Barry's been sensational for Rangers this season. And just on players coming back, John C. Turner with the point, but need to get Big Soapy fit to replace Goldson against Limassol. Absolutely, and fingers crossed, John, that he will be back and ready to play against Aris. That was I know Philip Clement was angry about the Goldson yellow card at the dying embers of the game last week, given it was an offside call. The linesman, I think, just let play on these days, and Goldson was booked. If he wasn't offside, they would have no complaints about it, I don't think. But it is what it is, and Goldson will miss that game in just over 2 weeks' time at Ibrox, which I'm sure that they'll be able to negotiate past the Cypriots even without Connor Goldson at the heart of that defence. Right, folks, I think that'll do us for now. Huge thanks to Chris for his part in the show as ever. It's greatly appreciated, and to everyone for interacting. Also, just a quick word as well for our podcast sponsors, the MPH Group, before I forget. Winter's rolling in. Of course, if you're thinking about giving your home heating system a boost, then MPH has an enticing Navian boiler winter promotion deal on offer. Not only are you choosing top-tier efficiency, but you're also getting a free Navian internet controller, no less. A little gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%, and MPH will also cover the first year's service with no added cost. There's a 12-year parts and labour warranty, and will also offer flexible finance options as well. The all-important links are in the description below. Plenty on the website, as I mentioned. Chris's piece on the accounts on there. There'll be more to come your way on YouTube. There's a YouTube members video, I think, coming later on today or tomorrow, it may be. So plenty, both on the website and on the YouTube channel as well during this international break. But we'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Bye for now.